Hello, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to a new episode of the Seriously in Business podcast. Today, I have a guest to share with you, and it is someone who I've worked quite closely with for a long period of time. I used to have a branding service where I would work one-on-one with someone over a series of about 8 calls, and we'd make their brand and we'd create a brand together. Anyway, I got to know Sarah and I was like, this is an incredible woman who's doing incredible things. And I think that she's going to really help you today. So Sarah is just such a gun at sharing how business owners, as particularly women in business, can craft a life and a business that actually supports them for what they want to have in life. Like for so many female entrepreneurs, it's not just about the money. It's a lot about creating a lifestyle that's going to support us to be with our family, to be actually doing the things that matter to us and making an impact in the world. And Sarah is really great at helping us to actually do that and rather than getting caught up in business and spending too much time on things that we don't care about or things that don't matter to us, but actually working out what our priorities in life are and creating a business, creating systems, creating a framework that's actually going to help us to do what we believe is really important in our lives. And Sarah's got such an incredible passion. She's got such an incredible story. She's going to share that with you in this episode. And just the journey that she's been on, the things that she's learned along the way, and the way that she's able to then articulate that to help us to make real change in our business that's going to help support us for the longevity of our business is so, so special. So I'm so excited to share Sarah with you. So if you don't know Sarah, she is from New Zealand. She is a mum and she is direct and honest. And whether she's at home or in business, she believes in everything being straightforward. Her passion is to flip the script on how women, especially mothers, show up in business. Hence the Moxie movement, which is a beautiful movement that she has created. Amidst the chaos of running a business, she's faced burnouts, missed cherished family moments, and pretty much had the she has to do it all, or she's done it all hustle attitude. And it's kind of led to things that aren't so great. And so through her journey, she's mastered the art of reshaping her business and life to fit together, not the other way around. So she's here to revolutionize how we as women weave our dreams into success stories so that we can create a business and life that serves our legacy. So let's dive into today's episode. If you're listening on the podcast, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. And I'm so excited for you to hear these really practical and really inspiring things from Sarah. Welcome, Sarah, to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm super excited to be here and hang out today.
I'm wildly excited as well. So Sarah and I got to know each other, I'm assuming it was towards the start of this year. This year's been a blur for me.
Yeah.
And we did a rebrand of your business, and it was just such a fun, incredible process and such a ginormous shift for you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I think it was also just like the most scary thing for you.
It was a very scary thing for me. Such a huge shift. Johnny said to me the other day, he says, every time I see one of your old branding things, he's like, I just want to burn it away. Johnny's my husband. He's like, just like, I used to think it was okay, he said, but now just compared to the new one, just it's rubbish. Just got to get rid of it.
Oh, that's exciting. I was actually, I was putting together some presentation slides for a masterclass I'm about to present for Sarah. And I was like, I'll do a before and after. And I was like, this is a great before and after. This is my favorite before and after. So yeah, good times. Any hoozles. Not what we're going to chat too much about today, but I do want to touch on it a little bit. But what I do want to talk about is you, because when I was in this interview process with you of getting to know your brand and getting to build that out so I could create a brand for you, I was just really struck by how passionate you were, by your deep mission for what you do and who you want to serve and the change you want to make in the world. And I think it's incredible and I think it's inspiring. And I think there's a lot of stuff that particularly us women in business can learn from you to help make life a little bit more better, to use like a very boring word to encompass a huge idea. But before we get into all that, I wanted to just ask you a question I ask all of my guests, which I think is actually going to be a really great segue into our conversation. And that is, what does an average day in your life and business look like? So from getting up to going to bed, like where does work fit in? What kind of chores do you do? Like what does your average day kind of look like?
As little chores as possible is the answer to the chores piece. So an average day looks like, for me, I get up at 5. We have a girl who's now 11. She comes to the gym with me. So we get up at 5. Us girls go to the gym, work out till 6:30. We go new thing we've added in is that Scarlett wants to swim in the ocean every morning, which it's not super warm yet here in New Zealand. So we swim in the ocean, a little dose of vitamin D, which we've found makes getting her out the door to school super easy because it's the dopamine hit from the cold water. So from there, home, breakfast, showers, everyone getting ready for school. Scarlett catches the bus at 8 o'clock and she heads out the door. Then I kind of chill for a little bit often, have a coffee, do a little bit of reading, a little bit of journaling, just sit in the sunshine at this time of the year, and then dive into my day. And that can be anything from some onboarding calls, it could be some sales calls with my clients, it could just be some really focused work on creating content. So my job is to take complex, I guess, business challenges and turn them into simple step-by-step processes that the women that I work with can use. I might have the odd crisis call if something goes on. Unexpectedly pregnant client would be a crisis call, or I've had some health challenges with some of my clients recently, so we do some of that client call. And then I can wrap up about 3:30ish. I'd grab some lunch, sit out in the sun throughout that time. And by the time Scarlett gets home at 4, I'm sort of aiming to be cruising into the end of my day so I can help with a little bit of homework or whatever needs to happen. We have dinner early in the evening. At this time of the year, we try and sit outside, not inside, because it's nice here now. And then that's kind of the end of the day. Bit of game, play some games, read some books, chill. That's kind of the average day. It's very easeful now.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool that you've been able to create a life that looks that way. And I know that it's been so wildly intentional on your behalf to make it that way. Before I get into some questions around how you've kind of done that and what the processes look like for that, I wanted to just give my listeners a bit of an overview, I guess a brief overview of like your business life so far, because it's not just been this business that you have now. It's been quite a long journey. So could you just give us a bit of a summary of what that's kind of looked like? Feel free to weave in any learning lessons you had in that time as well.
Sure. So I think I was incredibly blessed to be born into a family where it wasn't work hard at school, go to university, get a job. I grew up in a farming family. So I grew up on a big farm in the King Country here in New Zealand. And until I was 15, that's what I was going to be. I was going to be a farmer because that's what I'd been seeing. About that time, my father had what I guess would be termed a midlife crisis. He's probably about my age now, in his 40s. And he went, they're doing a terrible job of selling the meat I'm producing on the farm in Auckland. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to go gate to plate, which is not quite 30 years ago, but close. So like the concept of gate to plate before it was really, really cool. So my dad was always one of those people that was having great ideas and implementing them straight away, often too early, I guess, for the marketplace, but he was still doing those things. I grew up in a world where that was kind of normal. And so we had always, I don't know if other people have this experience, but my parents' rules around money were, if you need it, we'll buy it for you. If you want it, you can pay for it, which meant like you get hand-me-down clothes. If you want something cool, once you got to, teenage years, you had to buy it. So we all always had work. And our skills figured out pretty quickly that there were things people wanted that we could bag up and sell. So it was things like pine cones in the winter. We made a roaring trade off of pine cones. The sheep pellets from underneath the wool shed was great fertilizer for roses. So we made a roaring trade off of bagging that up and selling it. So we'd been in little businesses from a very young age. And then so I decided I wanted to be a business, left school a year early, started a business degree and was majoring in accounting and marketing. 12 months in, I was like, is this it? Is this all you require me to do at university? And so I ended up getting a full-time gig at an accountancy firm. And by the time I was 20, I'd finished my degree, 21. I'd finished my degree and I was bored with accountancy. I wasn't going to be an accountant. That wasn't going to work. And so I ended up running mum and dad's meat business because they had entered a joint venture with McDonald's, of all people, doing ready-made meals. And so big learnings there, right? So farming family with very little business background and certainly no corporate background, clashing with a very big American corporate client. So there was lots of learnings in that. Because the culture fit's really different. So I think that was one of the first points where I went, oh, like how you do things matters. For me, that was probably a big learning there. And then after a little while, I'm a New Zealander and we all do our OEs. And so I got itchy feet and I went off to Thailand and ended up living over there for a little bit. Over there, I picked up my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, obviously, to begin with, but that's where I found my husband. He's English and he was running a kayaking business and I was running one of the local dive shops. So he had a little business there and he would say, I interfered in his business. I think I helped. I thought I was very valuable. And it was like the ideal business. Like when you look at those people with the laptop lifestyles, we kind of had that. The busier our business was, the less work we did. And then we accidentally came back to New Zealand, or we intentionally came back to New Zealand and accidentally bought a boat that was a cruise. People were like, how did you accidentally do that? And I was like, literally, we went on the boat to look at what they were doing and go, how could we add kind of a teak barge thing to our kayaking expedition here in Thailand, because we could buy this beautiful teak barge, big boat for not very much money in Thailand and add it into what we were doing. And so we were literally had our notebooks out and we're going, this works really well and this is what we do differently. And at the end of the trip, the business owner was like, well, you know, I'm going off to Indonesia to work on this project I've got up there. Do you know anyone that might like to buy my business? And I went, oh, we'll buy it. And my husband was like,
sorry, what?
What? Sorry, what? Again, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at this point. We were earning Thai baht, so we had no money. We're sitting on bar stools. I think he actually like wobbled off his bar stool while we were having this conversation. He was saying, oh, we have no money. What will we buy this with? I was like, oh. Anyway, talked numbers, didn't hear anything else for ages. And then when I came back to surprise my mum for her 50th, there was a letter there for me saying, hey, I want to sell you my boat. I want you to buy it on the 1st of December. This was in September. Here's how much money I want for it. This is how the takeover is going to happen. Johnny was in England. I was in New Zealand. We still had a business in Thailand. And so we just raced through it to try and figure it out. And so by the 1st of December, I was here in New Zealand running an overnight cruise boat in the Bay of Islands. And that's how we got started in our businesses in New Zealand. So when I say I accidentally bought a boat, I really did accidentally buy it. And we bought it with no money, like none. We borrowed all of the money, some of it from the bank, some of it from the vendors. And that summer we paid off $250,000 of this vessel. And then the GFC hit. And so it was a terrible timing in terms of buying a tourism business, but it taught us so much. And it also taught me that the harder I worked, the better the results were, which was a story I took into the rest of my career. Like if you work hard, which translated to if you work long hours, you'll get results, which was fine when it was just Johnny and I and we were living on the boat and it was kind of all we did. But as our lives grew and got bigger and I tried to jam everything around it, that became working 60, 100 hours a week. And so, yeah, and I was a little bit addicted. So we bought that business and then 12 months later, we bought another business. And then we just sat on those two for a little while. And then we decided we'd have a baby. And so we had a baby. And then we had the baby. I was bored now. And so we got into another business. And so now we have another restaurant. And then we built a second restaurant. Like, honestly, it just got off the chains ridiculous. 60, 100 hours a week, working really, really long hours. I had all these underlying beliefs around I couldn't ask people to do something if I wouldn't do it myself. So I'd work on Christmas Day. Like I did all sorts of crazy things. And then went, oh, you know what? The reason I'm struggling with my team is I don't have enough skills and tools to get them to do what I want. I'll go and learn how to be a coach because then I can coach them through what I want them to do, which involved 12 months doing coaching and stuff free for people. And at the end of that, people went, oh, how do we carry on coaching with you? And they started paying me. And so now I've got 5 businesses. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of the hustle and grind, Sarah, 60, 100 hours. I was like, this is not working. I'm exhausted, stressed. I don't have a relationship really with Scarlett. I certainly don't have the relationship I want with Johnny. And so then we spent 3, 4 years, 5 years, I guess, unpacking that 100-hour week down to the life, the ideal day that I kind of live now. And so it's been a bit of a journey.
That's great. I knew that would be a good story and I delivered. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I loved hearing that journey and from from where you were with those 5 businesses to where you are now is just polar opposites. And I just see you helping so many people to change that as well for themselves, and you actually be able to create, I guess, systems and ways of doing business and working out your priorities to make sure that the business that you create matches the lifestyle that you want. And so if someone was listening to this and they were like, Jacqui, I'm kind of feeling like past Sarah here, where she's kind of working too much, but like you were probably a little bit enjoying it, but also it was just not sustainable. What are some first steps we need to be able to take to start to shift things for ourselves, to really work out our priorities and really work out what we want from life and business?
Yeah, so I think the reason I got in such a state was because I was working from a paradigm of working the hours that a business owner would work. So I was running my business like I didn't have a husband and I didn't have a family, but I was also be a wife and a mother like I didn't have at the time for 5 businesses. And so the very first thing to recognize is the way that most businesses are set up are for someone that has a wife. And by wife, I mean a housewife, someone who takes care of running your home and does the primary parenting for you. And so when you recognize that most of businesses set up that way, you have to go as a woman, if you are choosing to be have someone as your significant other and choosing to be a parent and choosing to run a home, you're going to have to do some things differently because the way that it's set up won't gel with you. So that's, I guess, the first thing. It's not you that's broken. It's the freaking system. You got to get out of the system. Break the rules, man. The rules for us don't work. So, and then I'm very clear on the fact that I am building businesses and my clients are building businesses to serve the life they want. When you talk to women, it's always about, I want it to work around being a mom. I want it to work around all these other people that I serve in my life. And secondly, it's around impact. They don't go, oh, I want to have my name on the building and make 7 and 8 figures. Like, that's not how women talk about their business. They talk about the impact, the difference they can make. And so when you figure that out, then you can come back and go, okay, well, what do I want out of life? And therefore, how can I build my business to serve that? Rather than the other way around, which is we build our business and then we jam our life in around at the fringes so that the people you love the most are getting the rest of you instead of the best of you.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like you say that phrase all the time.
I do. I was that person, right? I was absolutely giving the best of me to everyone else and the rest of me to Scarlett and Johnny, which wasn't much.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we created in the rebrand was this really cool calendar thing that you have that you get people to put, like, they have to write down their priorities for their life and they have to write down different colors, sticky notes, and all of these things combined together to make sure that you're actually forming your calendar in a way that supports what you believe you want your life to look like. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just found that was such a cool concept.
Yeah, I think because one of the things we teach people is that we always have time and money for the things that are most important to us. And so when we say we don't have money or we don't have time for the people we say we love the most and matter the most to us, what we're actually saying is, you're not that important to me right now. And I had that story. Like, I remember saying, Scarlett, I'm too busy. I definitely said it to my husband. I'm too busy to do that thing with you. And if I could change one thing, it would be Dad. If I could go back and take that phrase out of younger Sarah's life, I would, because it's okay to say that to people that don't matter, but the people that matter, you shouldn't be saying that to. And so I want the woman that I work with to be really deliberate about, where am I spending my time? Because you can have a business in the baby and it's going to take you being very deliberate with your focus, energy, and time. The money will follow. And I think we get hung up. We do it the wrong way around. We get hung up on the money and we forget about being really deliberate about our time, focus, and energy. And so I make them decide what's most important to them, and I put it in the calendar first. And more than that, I get really bossy and I say, actually, the person I want you to put in there first is you, because we're so busy giving to everyone else. We've, so I can't remember who I was watching, and they said to be a good woman is to be good for everyone else. And I was like, oh, that is so what we're taught. Whereas I want to flip that script completely and say, actually, to be a good woman is to look after myself first so that I can be great at all these other things. And so I had them put that stuff in first. And then you can also see where things start to pile up. Particularly, we're coming into the end of the year. We're recording this in November. And so people start to jam like so much business stuff at this time of the year. But if you're a mum, like there is Christmas parties and end of season this and activities and school camps. And so if you want to be present for those things, you can't jam your business calendar full at this time of the year as well. And so it just gives them a real visual representation of how do those highest life priorities start to fit together.
Yeah. I think that's really important to think about, because otherwise, life and business, I guess the way that we just expect to do it just builds up, and we don't really realize that, actually now my life isn't matching what I say is important to me. Those phrases of, like, I'm too busy for you right now, or just wait. It's just so hard to work out, that balance. And I know that systems a lot can help with that, to be like, okay, so these are my highest priorities. So this is what I actually care about in my life and in my business. We still don't have more time. So how do we make that work? And I think you said that systems are a really great help to that.
Yeah. So I guess I think about a couple of things. Because as women, we do a lot of the free work. You work for free in your house a lot. You cook, you clean, you do the laundry, you do the parenting for nothing. Now, if you think about how much you'd have to pay someone to do all of that, if you took all of those jobs and went, I'm not going to do any of those chores, I'm not going to do any of those things, it can add up pretty quick. I remember seeing a divorce case where a woman actually sued her now ex-husband for the cost of the child, like all of the work that she'd done. She'd given up really, like they'd started in the same career, and she got lots of money, right? Like it was hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but that she had given up to have this role. And so I think because we do a lot of work for free, we value us as worth nothing. Our time is free. Our time is cheap. Our time is easy. It's just quicker to do it myself. It's just cheaper if I do it myself. And that involves us getting busy instead of getting deliberate. And so that, I guess, is the first thing, is that systems allow us to look at our time and go, well, if I'm investing in myself and my business well, when I do that, I can create $200, $300, $1,000 an hour, and I can pay someone $50 an hour or less to do all these other tasks that I like the outcome of. Like, I like having a clean house. I just don't like cleaning it. And I like having clean laundry. I just don't like having to wash it and hang it out and fold it and iron it. So I like the outcome of having those things, but I don't have to do all that work. And so I start to outsource all of that by seeing that my time as a businesswoman is incredibly valuable. I also look at the way I parent, and I don't just assume that I need to be there for anything and everything. And I go, well, what does great look like for Scarlett? What does she actually want from me as a mum? What does she actually want me to be at? And I make time for those things. And it turns out driving her to and from school every day is not the thing that she likes. She actually quite likes catching the bus with her friends. So I can then go, well, that wins me back a couple of hours every day. If I invest that in my business, then I've got more time to be present somewhere else as well.
Yep. Okay.
So I didn't answer that with systems, but kind of talked about why systems are important, because it allows you to value your time more, I guess.
Oh, hello. I'm interrupting this episode super quickly to let you know that we have limited availability to work with the team at White Deer Studio. If you want done for you graphic or brand support, that means doing your graphics for you. Anything from bespoke social media templates to launch graphics or a full branding package, our team are ready to support you. Just head to whitedeer.com.au/design studio to find out more. That's the color white, the animal deer.com.au/design studio to find out more. We cannot wait to work with you. All right, back to the episode. So if we get down into, so you've spoken a lot about like life kind of systems and life kind of things. What are some ones that we can also use in our business and kind of make our business run in a smoother way so that we're maybe less time needed in there as well?
Yeah. So then the very first thing that I always say is, where is your time going in your business? So, because it's going to be different for everyone. So some people are spending way too much time with employees. So if you've got a team, there's a really good chance you're spending way too much time being interrupted, or you're doing firefighting. So those are some systems I put in right away. So people go, oh, Sarah, I don't get time to work on my business because I'm constantly dealing with the fires and the interruptions. And I'm like, well, so then we need to plan for those. Oh, Sarah, I can't plan for them. They're unpredictable. But if I ask you, how often do you have an interruption or a fire in your business? You go, oh, well, I have them every day, or I have them every week. And I'm like, well, then they are predictable. They're predictable in that we know they're going to happen. What's causing the problem is that you're not making space for them to happen. So let's put some space in to happen. And so that's what one of the very first things we do is we put in firefighting time. That's for stuff that has to happen in the moment that's urgent and important. So that one we move around in a more sporadic way. And then interrupting time is really about saying to team members or customers or even family members, like I remember saying to my mum, you can call during interrupting time, mum, and I'll help you with your zero problem, or I'll help you with your but interrupting time, in which meant I could get focused work done in the morning, and then 1:00 in the afternoon. When I started, it was from like 1 till 4 p.m. I had a lot of employees. That's interrupting time. And so at that point in time, I would then have everybody come and ask me any questions, but it did mean I could still get some focused work done, because the shifting cost is really hard for you as a business owner. You're if you were working on someone's designs and then someone like sent you a message and you're like, oh God, now I've got to go and do that. That shifting cost loses somewhere between 18 and 22 minutes every time you shift tasks. That's really hard. So like when I talk systems, like for me, it's really about rituals that you will put in place, that you communicate a boundary and then you hold the boundary, that mean that people have to work around how you want to work, not the other way around.
Oh, that's really good. I remember listening to one of your episodes on firefighting. So if anyone's interested, check out that episode on Sarah's podcast. Yeah, that's such a great point. And that idea of like making specific times for specific things, or allowing at least a time block that can be shifted around as needed, so that when like, oh no, I've got to fight this fire for half an hour, that actually, no, I do have the time for that. I'm just going to shift that from when I scheduled it in for Thursday afternoon and put it on Monday morning, and now I'll continue on with the rest of my life. And on Thursday afternoon, when I was going to be firefighting, I've now get to do some other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get to a point where you firefight first, and then you're like, okay, what caused the fire? Because all you're doing all the time is putting the fire out. The fire will keep, sparking again. So we want to go and look at what broke that. And people go, oh, it's employees. The employees aren't doing the job properly. And I'm like, okay, let's have a little dig in that. And as a general rule, it is a system problem first and foremost. I'm always like, okay, cool. Where's the system this person was supposed to be following? They're like, oh, we've always done it. And I'm like, okay, but where's the system? Like, where's it written down? Where's the Loom video? Where's the project that they're following? Oh, well, it doesn't exist. They just got told when they were onboarded. And I'm like, okay, cool. So knowing how much information we all have to retain in our brains, you're now expecting your employees to retain all of this again. No wonder they come and ask you so many questions. So I always say it's a system problem first until we've built the systems. Once there's a system, on the assumption that they are following the system, it's always a system problem. The only people problem we ever then have is that they're not following the system. And that makes it so much easier, because now all of those, oh, I'm too scared to tell them they're not doing a good job, go away, because all of the conversations about, hey, that system doesn't look like it's working super well. When you're following it, where is it broken? And that is a much easier conversation to have than you're just not doing a very good job.
That's so scary.
Yeah. That does feel scary, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, okay, that's a really good point. I remember as a solo business owner last year, I remember when I first hired my VA, it was really actually quite overwhelming for me to think, I'm going to hire someone now. How the heck am I going to show them how to do all of these things? And then like now, most things have a system-ish, not all. and it's like, yeah, let's put these in, because then there's less, like, all of the things I can think of, like, oh, I wish they would do this differently. I'm like, have you actually said that you wish that they would do that differently and then put it into a system? Or do they actually understand the whole process of doing that? Do you have any tips? I want to ask maybe two ways of this. Firstly, for the person who doesn't have any team.
Yeah.
And for the person who has a team or two or three or four at the moment. So first I'll go to the first one. Is it worth having systems as a solo person?
100%. Because you can delegate to technology, to a contractor who comes in sporadically to do work, and it takes the cognitive load. So what you would have been experiencing, so when you went from being a solo business owner to having a team member, previously you retained all of that systematic stuff that you do day to day in your head. And that limits your ability to be creative, that limits your ability to make good decisions, that reduces your ability to have energy left at the end of the day. So the cognitive load is huge of that. So just the relief of, we call it downloading your mind, but downloading your business out of your head and down into a piece of paper, we call a success map. What's the map that gets us through our business successfully? What are all the steps? What are all the pieces? So we download that, and then we build each system piece by piece, kind of like building Lego, right? Get the bag of Lego and you have all the steps in it. That's what you're looking to do. So first and foremost, it lowers the load that's in your head so you can use your brain for the stuff that's more valuable, more fun, more playful, and ultimately have some stuff left over for the people you love. Secondly, it means technology can do more stuff for you in a deliberate way. So generally what I see with solopreneurs is they just build it. They get a new software and they get very excited and they just go crazy and they go build everything in there. And then they can't work out why it's not working because there's no systematic way that they did that. And the way that it talks to other softwares is clunky or things break and you can't find where the hole is. So that's the second reason. And then lastly, you can use contractors on a temporary basis to come and help you out. If you've got a team, it's a game changer because there are only two sets of expectations that you have in your business. One is behavioral, which is your really clear set of values. So how are we building the culture? How are we going to treat each other while we're on this journey of business together? Or the operational expectation, which is what we do. That is, when we open the shop, this is how we put the sign out. This is how we bring it in. When we onboard a client, this is how we do it step by step. And if you have all of that stuff in a format, someone else can pick up and run with it. Makes it easy to recruit because you're like, here's the tasks I'm recruiting for, and here's the behavioral expectations I'm recruiting for. And it also makes it incredibly easy for them to teach someone else. It doesn't become Chinese whispers. Oh, Jacqui told me this. And so then when that person's, say, with Jackie's told Jane, now Jane's telling Julie, you've got Chinese whispers inside your business where it's not exactly the way that you want it. And so if you want it the white deer way, the systems allow it to always be the white deer way.
Look, it sounds so simple when you put it that way. And like I totally
get it, but it's so complex. I'm like, yeah, people make it really complex.
Yeah. And it's like, even like from the solo perspective of that idea of taking away the mental load, like there's so many things that I just almost forget now in my business. And I just have to go to my system like, oh, that's how I do that again. Whereas I either forgot it and had no clue how I did it again when it was a task that didn't get recurred regularly, or I was just, holding all of this stuff in my brain that I've got a capacity, I guess.
Yeah. And so if you think about it, we have huge capacity because most of us are also running our homes and our families in there as well. So as women, we're so used to running it all in here. Like, when everyone's birthdays are that need to be shopped for, and Christmas presents and school events and play dates, and you retain, absolutely, we have huge capacity for it. And imagine if you put that brain capacity to something that was really valuable in your business. Imagine how much you could create. Imagine how much impact and value you could create.
Yeah. And I think, kind of, as you mentioned as well, there are so many little systems that we can use even as a solo person of like different, like I'm still implementing different like zaps in my business in Zapier to kind of like connect this. Like if a payment fails over here, that it makes a task me over here and sends this email. It's like, there's things that I can take off my plate that are just mundane, almost kind of similar to those tasks that you mentioned earlier of the switching task. Is that the language you use? The swapping?
The task switching. Yeah.
Yeah, the task switching where it's like, oh, I failed. Like I've just seen someone's whole program got cancelled. What happened? And it's kind of like firefighting and switching tasks between what I was doing because I've seen this kind of urgent thing come in. And it's like, well, actually, that could have all been taken care of if I popped in a system. No one else is doing that system, but it's all kind of happening with technology. And so between that and between actually writing things down and documenting it for our team, and there's so many different apps that can help you document things too. Like I think I get advertised this one. I haven't used it yet, but you can do like a screen recording thing and it writes down all the instructions and takes screenshots. And I'm like,
I was just talking about this on Monday, and now the name of it's going to completely escape me. But it was, super cool. So you like plug it in. It's a Chrome extension, and you plug it.
That sounds familiar.
Go through and you do the recording, and it literally types up the standard operating procedure for it. So if you're someone who works on a computer a lot, that's just perfect. So good.
Yeah. And so they're just different things like that. We can work really clever in our business. And that stuff, though, it takes us working on our business and giving ourselves time to do that rather than just doing the firefighting 24/7 and just getting ourselves more fires and more stressed when we don't, because we're not allowing ourselves that time in the first place to create the systems.
Yeah. And so whenever I'm talking, they're like, I just really need systems. I'm like, awesome. And we're going to sort your time out first.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't got time to do something, you're never going to have time to, like, we're never going to get the system sorted if you're not making time to do it. And that's the only way that we can move it forward.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. So everyone listening, even like just working out where you're spending your time, I think is that really great first step of jotting that down. I think you kind of, do you have a resource for that helps you kind of work out where you're spending your time?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the Ideal Week Advantage where I literally go through it with people and I say, look, take this very basics worksheet and just track where your time's going. Like, who's actually using up the most of your time? Because sometimes it's a client, sometimes it's an employee, sometimes it's a process you're doing. I was working with a client the other day and he's like, oh, I spend 4 hours doing this stuff. And I'm like, how about we try doing it like this? Like, how about we transcribe it? And then we just played around and built out like a 4-step system. He got back 4 hours every week just from playing things together, because he was having to give feedback to clients after a whole lot of sessions. He's a swimming coach. And he was like, oh, I was like, and because I work across a number of different sectors, I was like, I feel like we could use this bit from over here and this bit from over here, or plug it all together. And he spent, I think it probably took him 6 hours to get it working correctly for him and doing it all as automated as possible. He's like, oh my God, I got back 4 hours every week. That's amazing. And that's the snowball effect of when you look at your time and go, what is it that's taking up most of my week? And then pulling those pieces out where we can, it just makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So if anyone wants just an easy takeaway from this, I think doing that task and then also working out what your priorities are in life to make sure that you've got those at the top of your mind, so that when you are making decisions for life and for your business, you can have those there so that you're not just, I guess, getting caught up in like, oh no, it's okay. It's okay. And then forever your life is just, that's okay. And it's not what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, so that's that. I say yes when I mean no, when someone asks you to do it. And if you're like me, I was the eldest of 4 girls and I was a good girl at school and I was a good girl at home. And when someone asks a good girl to do something, what does she say?
Yes.
Yes, of course I could do that for me. Let me fit that into my already crammed schedule, even though I really don't want to do it. And what you really mean inside is like, no, like I've already got 100 hours. Like for me, I was like, I've already got 100 hours. Where am I going to fit in the community work? But I did. And so you've got to have filters that allow you to say, this is a yes and this is a no. And really, if it doesn't make you go, oh my God, yes, I definitely want to do that, I'm so excited to do that, it's got to be a no, because your time is so limited. And if you're a mum, you're a parent, your time is so limited with them at each stage that they're in. Just before we jumped on, I was like, I'm really enjoying this 11-year-old age. And every stage is different. And I'm sure I will enjoy more stages, but I just want to be in it with this person that Scarlett's becoming in that moment. And if I don't have time for that, because I'm saying yes to everyone else. So decision filters that allow you to say no to stuff is so powerful.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing everything. And thank you for letting me work on your brand as well. That was such a fun process. If you want to have a look, actually, while you're watching this, listening, you can watch or listen to this podcast just in case you didn't know. Head to Sarah's Instagram. What's your handle at the moment?
At Sarah Greener Coach.
At Sarah Greener Coach, and have a look at her current brand, and then scroll down a little bit and see what it used to be as well, and just and see how it feels, and just note just as a quick summary, just to inspire anyone who's thinking about doing a rebrand. I don't want to dwell on this, but what has changed for you after having a rebrand?
Everything. Jacqui will tell you, I was such a reluctant I'm like, I need to do this. I know I need to do this, but I'm not someone that thinks how things look is why you should buy something. Like, I'm really not that person. And I said, Jacqui up front, I'm not a super visual person. And so I'm going to be difficult. So I can't visualize it. She'd say, what about this and this? And I'll be like, oh, I can't see how it's all going to put together. And the cohesiveness of who I am and the impact I want to make and the way my brand looks and feels and vibes now is amazing. So people can just look at it and go, oh, this is who Sarah is. This is who the Moxie movement is. And it's changing the game dramatically. I had a friend at the gym come up. She said, I just have to come up and give you some yarns about what you're doing with the Moxie movement. She's like, I love it. I love it so much. It's got this little bit nostalgic feel. It throws back to my childhood vibes. It's got so much energy jumping off the page, and it just speaks absolutely to you. It's just you, Sarah, all over. I just love it so much. I just have to give you kudos because the impact you're going to make with it is so good. So that is someone who knows me in person was like, it just, your brand is you now. It didn't say you before. So
yeah,
huge shift. I think huge confidence for my team and I that we know that everything's cohesive across how everything looks and feels. We've got templates for everything. The person that's the worst at following those is me. And that's
your team is great there. And like, yeah, because we gave you a huge amount of templates, and I'm just seeing like those get applied and those get changed and those get like, that template is now helping over here for this totally other thing. And it's like, yes, I love seeing how we can just evolve it. And you've got such a strong brand now. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to apply that there rather than, I use red sometimes. Is that your past brand? I use red sometimes.
A really pinky, really. Yeah. And it's not really, cohesive with me. Like I'm even starting to dress like my brand. It's crazy. There's a photo.
So beautiful to see.
Speaking of my retreat, and a shirt that's the exact color of my brand, and pink pants are the exact color of my brand, and pink shoes, cracks me up. But love it. So stepped into it. And I think you held the process so well in that you really drew out who I was and who my clients were and the impact I wanted to make for them, and you merged those together, and that's represented in the brand too. And so I feel very, very comfortable about it. I had nightmares about this brand change. I said to Jacqui,
literal nightmares.
Literally nightmares. I've got to call Jacqui. I'm calling it off. I can't change the brand. It's too stressful. And then the day it went live, I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've come back to me online, like I know who I am in person, but now I can see me online, and that's been really powerful. I can hear me in the words that are being spoken. It's just all clearer. So worth it.
Power of clarity is just so wild, especially when you're the person showing up in your business. You need to feel like this sense of congruence between you who you are and what you look like, because otherwise it just feels like fake every single time. And then it's like, well, this isn't me. This feels hard. Whereas when it kind of flows, it just flows.
Yeah. And I think for me anyway, and this is, you heard the story of my business journey, so it gives away that I'm a wee bit older than Jacqui. So I've been in business a long time. And so when I started out in business, doing branding is a big, expensive exercise. The moment you've got your brand, like if you want to tweak the name of something or wording in something, you have to go back to the designer and they charge you hundreds of dollars. And so I've always been really reluctant to recommend to my clients that they do that. And then Canva came along and it was a game changer. And I remember talking to a number of different people going, well, can you do it for me in Canva so that because then I can update and adjust. And they were just so resistant all the way through. And I was like, this is because with Canva, if I can do it myself, I'm not coming back to spend money with you. Whereas I love that your business model's just revolved around making that easy for small business owners, because that's who I work with. I'm like, once you get it set up in Canva, like my brand kit's up in Canva now, it's just like easy peasy. I can get, like, Kirsty did a takeover on my Instagram for our retreat this weekend. She could put logos on things.
It looks so good.
She's having all sorts of fun. I was like, oh, I'm not clever enough with creative stuff to do any of that, but my team can really do all of that super easy and cost me nothing, no design fees, nothing. And so now I'm total convert. You need a brand, you need to have it set up in Canva, and you need to do it with Jacqui.
Stop it. Yeah, and it was so much fun. And like for me, like I would love, it'd be fine to do everyone's design 24/7 for them, but I'd probably almost be working for you 24/7 if I needed to keep doing all of your graphics, because you pump out so much stuff, and I don't have the time for that. So it just almost makes sense to me. Like, here's how you do it all in Canva. Here's a tutorial. Here's all your brand kit stuff, and let's actually equip you to do that, rather than feeling like, you have to come back to me. Like, it just feels so impractical. Like for me, I want to change something every now and then. Why would I want to pay someone to do that tiny little change over and over again? This is such practical.
Yeah, and I think that's the evolution of the business world as well. Like I was doing my tax returns and stuff on paper when I started. Like the world has moved so quickly. And so things didn't need to be updated or changed back then so quickly versus now, like we have to have so much content for starters, particularly if we're online. But secondly, it moves and changes so quickly. And so I think makes Canva $1 billion company, right? That
Yeah,
she
done well.
and she fixed something that was such a huge pain point for every single small business owner.
Yeah.
And so great.
So true. All right, let's wrap this up. I would love to know how people can connect with you. I know you've got so many incredible resources and your podcast and stuff. Could you let us know about a few of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is definitely something that we're dropping weekly. It's the Moxie movement. It's obviously everywhere you can find podcasts, so Spotify and all those things. We also have loads of resources inside our community, which is called Business Freedom for Female Business Owners. That's on Facebook. But probably the easiest way is to follow me on Instagram at Sarah Greener Coach or on Facebook and slide into my DMs in a not creepy way. And we can hook you up with the group because that's where the actual trainings are held with the resources like the Ideal Week Advantage that we've talked about today. Those are the best ways to do it. I said slide into my DMs in a not creepy way because I've had people propose to me in my DMs from all over the world.
Congratulations.
Emojis even, would you believe, which is hilarious. I'm like, so you can come in and we can chat about business, but don't come in and propose. I'm already happily married. Thanks.
Noted. I will remember that if I was ever thinking about proposing to you via DMs in emojis.
Oh, very funny.
That's great. So no, thank you for sharing your wisdom and insight with us, Sarah. That has been so helpful. And I'm just so excited to see how your brand continue to grow and evolve and serve incredible women in business. So thank you for doing a little bit of that here today.
My absolute pleasure.
So thank you for joining us for that episode. I hope you found it as inspiring as I have. I think I need to get down and work out a few more of my own priorities and create a few more systems for myself and first really just work out how my time's being spent because I am pretty flat chat, but there's some things that I know can give that aren't important to me. So thank you for joining us. I hope you found that so helpful. And if you'd like to know more, make sure you head over and follow Sarah on Instagram. Have a look at her old Instagram. And I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye.